Des is shaping Des. Oh my goodness.
Whoa, one for the Anheuser.
Burge putting the hammer down from the fairway of 18. Robbie C approved.
She has...
What's up, YouTube fam? I want to talk about my experience, bring you behind the curtain. Cadence is an absolute rock star, and this story definitely is one that needs to be remembered. But before we dive in, we have to ask the most important question of the day. How you doing today, Michael? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
This past weekend, we had the Discmania challenge up in Des Moines, Iowa. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about this and lessons that I learned during that challenge and sort of my perspective on that challenge, but that's Tuesday's video. Because today we want to talk about highlighting the epicness that was Cadence Burge getting her first win on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Cadence contacted me, I'm pretty sure like the weekend before the challenge. I knew I wasn't flying out until Sunday afternoon, so I wasn't going to be able to caddy for an MPO player for all 3 rounds. Ended up caddying for Sullivan Tipton for the first 2 rounds though, so that was a blast. Always a joy being on his bag. So I said, yeah, absolutely, let's hop on the bag. I had caddied for Cadence once in the past at the Music City Open for round 1. I love tournaments that her dad Larry puts on. Just overall, the Burge family is incredible. So I knew it was going to be a good time being on a bag for a friend. And truly looking at the field, I thought that we had a chance for something magical before I even saw her throw a practice shot or anything on the course. Now, there are 2 clarifications that I feel like we need to lay down before we dive into telling the story of the actual event. The first is that I'm not Cadence's coach. I'm not working with Cadence on anything form related. Full transparency, Cadence is a significantly better punter than I am. I mean, she has the sneaky ability to generate power from a knee outside of the circle better than anyone in FPO, and I would say better than lots of folks inside of MPO. And the second is that I am not her full-time caddy either. The guy who I think is on her bag most often is Bo McLaughlin, who is one of her best friends who travels with her, also an MPO player. But I'll be the first to tell you that basically my knowledge of caddying for Cadence comes down to what I know about the Discmania lineup. There are several discs that I know she loves and leans towards, and even amongst like inside of her bag, I was talking with her dad after the round, and I thought that she had thrown a paradigm off of the tee, but I think she in fact went DD1 as opposed to the paradigm, I believe, is the purple one that she throws with the koi fish on it. So with that being said, as we go through this entire tournament recap, you're not going to hear a lot of discussion about like, hey, I think you should throw this disc over this disc, because in preparation for this video, tried to think about, I don't think there was more than 3 times the entire tournament that we ever had a sort of back and forth. Disc selection was definitely not something that I wanted to really get involved with, because I don't play with Cadence enough to be able to say, oh, you should go with this essence over this essence. And I was there as a sounding board. That was my goal, especially if you were caddying for someone that you don't know their game in and out. You should not be the person stepping up saying, oh, you need to throw blank. The most important thing is that as a caddy, you do not want to shake the confidence of your player at any point. Even if you're looking at what they're doing and you may choose something different, the worst thing you can do is put seeds of doubt in that player's head so that they aren't throwing the most confident shot possible. So round 1, Cadence is on feature card, and we have Holland Handley, Ella Hansen, and Emily Weatherman. She's used to pressure before because people don't understand Cadence is a major winner. She's got that dog in her. But if I were to describe Cadence's round in round 1, I would say that truly round 1 was boring expectation golf, which is crazy because she came out of round 1 with the hot round at 5 under par. It wasn't this drastic swing of a roller coaster like several other people in the card were experiencing. On hole 7, she pulls her drive right and is probably a foot, 2 feet from landing inside of the island. So there was definitely some frustration there. And then we go to hole 8 and she throws this booming tee shot down the hill. As it's carrying down the hill, she ends up hitting the base and getting a horrific roll away all the way down the hill to where it actually lands on a bridge. OB, that's tough. I don't care who you are, and especially when you've had a bad hole prior, it can be a moment like that where you're just kind of looking at the course and saying like, really, dude, really? We're trying to get some wind in our sails and you're just you're doing this. She ends up banging the putt, carries through the rest of the round with no more bogeys, and we end up picking up 4 more birdies along the way as we walk it in. And I think that part of why I didn't even feel that dominant is because she wasn't riding the roller coaster of bogeys and birdies, but everyone else was. So it wasn't a moment where like Cadence held the box the entire round, so we knew she was dominating. I was watching the leaderboard because that was my job to do so, but I knew that Cadence wasn't a score watcher, and so I wasn't alerting her to, hey, you're actually having a fantastic round, and everyone's just kind of like zooming around you because, once again, since she didn't control the box. So after she made her putt on 18, I said, congratulations, leader in the clubhouse. And she was like, what? No way. Because that's about how round 1 felt. Now, round 2 is the vibes card. We have Owen Scoggins, Rebecca Don, and Macy Valadiez on our card with us. What I think kept this round super interesting is that it really showcased the importance of being a professional, where Cadence could lock in and throw her shot and throw it very well. And then because there was a sort of positive air or vibe on the card, she was able to sort of step out of the intensity that is the round and trying to compete at the highest level and take a breather and relax. And I think that this comfort carried with Cadence throughout pretty much the entire round. She's executing the game plan like an absolute boss. And day 2 was much different than day 1 because on day 2, she ends up shooting an electric 9 under par. We had the box for most of the day. I remember walking up to the tee on hole 6 and Cadence said, man, I hate going first. But I didn't say it to her because she was already on the tee box lining up her shot. But I was like, well, there's an easy solution to this. You could just be bad. If you're bad, you don't have the box. But that was not the goal of the day. She ends up throwing a booming shot down the fairway. Fantastic drive. And then she gets this gorgeous turnover into the green. Guys, what she can do with putter turnovers, mid-range turnovers, it's awesome. Walking into hole 7, okay, we messed this hole up yesterday, and I know the very thinking player about this as the best players are. She's very visualizing the holes. And so we need to make the correction from yesterday. And sure enough, ends up left of the basket, but we're inside the island. And I was like, hey, we made the island. She was like, way more left than I wanted. So she is, you can tell, holding herself to this standard. This is where I start to see a side of things of, we know that she's executing well, but it's still not good enough. She wants to execute perfection. And I think that if you're being pushed to be the best of the best, that's great. Makes it tough to give yourself grace. And I'm not entirely sure what the answer is here. If you should be giving yourself grace, or if that's what creates the fire internally is what creates legends. She ends up making the birdie, but I knew, okay, based on the comment that she gave me there, I know what she's trying to execute, which is important to know, once again, what lines your players are going for, because that way you're not walking up trying to give false confidence. Caddy, we want to instill as much confidence in our players so we can accept when lucky results happen or good results happen, but we also want to, whenever we know that they've executed the shot they're trying to do, we really want to lean into that and hype praise upon that, because it just adds to that dopamine and that confidence. So we get to hole 15, and her approach leaves her sort of from a knee putt obstructed, and she throws the putt and misses it, and it ends up rolling pretty much right back to her, and she bangs the next putt from a very similar spot. So she ends up getting 2 putts from this similar knee obstructed putt type area, both difficult putts to make. She walks into the next hole, and Cadence is a fantastic putter. Once again, one of the best putters on tour, both MPO and FPO. I can't tell if it rattled her in that, and she, I believe, still had the box. It's a short walk from the green to the tee box, and so I don't really get a lot of chance to hey, way to bang the comebacker. And once again, I'm not even really trying to say that to her in this moment, because I can tell and know that she is bummed that she missed the first putt anyways. So she goes to hole 16, by her own words, doesn't commit to the tee shot. It lands inbounds, but she's pretty far back and has to throw this standstill patent pending approach. On that standstill patent pending approach, she ends up leaving it short as well. At this point, we're 8 under par, which is obliterating pretty much every single other person in the field. And there's a lot of disappointment in Cadence's language towards herself. And so one of the things that I found as a caddy is that I want to toss lifelines. If they're spiraling, you want to extend olive branches. You want to toss ropes out to your player to hopefully give them an opportunity to grab on and see the light on the other side. I'm thinking to myself, because I've got this whole picture, Cadence, this is okay. Like, even if we take a bogey here, we still have several strokes on the rest of the field. But I had said to Cadence, you're a fantastic putter. Let's go bang this. And so she steps up with this circle 2 look after just watching another person make one from like 15 or 20 feet further away to save the par.
I feel so proud. You to make shirts that say us Canadians, we show up. Cadence saving par.
Let's go.
Holy.
Back. We head into 17 and 18, and she gets the birdie on 17. And on 18, I believe she ends up throwing a function, which is the flippy fairway driver, and it just pushes just a little too long on 18. So she ends up going OB just by a hair. And I walk over to the crowd, and I saw someone in the crowd, and I was like, she doesn't realize that she can miss this putt and still have the hot round of the day by, I believe it was 2 strokes at the time. But sure enough, guys, she's Cadence Burge. She doesn't miss putts. So she steps up, bangs the putt, saves the par, has a clean 9 under par for the day. And this was one that was definitely she was playing fantastic golf. I know she mentioned later on this is probably the highest rated round she'd ever shot. It was just truly dominant golf. Awesome to see. She was executing her lines. And as we went into the evening, I was just replaying hole 16 in my head over and over again. And I was thinking, I hope that we come out of the gates strong. I hope that she throws a great drive on hole 1. She throws a great drive on hole 2. Because if we can throw these 2 big drives, we're going to feel this confidence well up. What I didn't want to see is in the first few holes, this fire legend inside of her burn her up, and that we would be battling that all day. Because the more that we can keep that fire away, I think the better chance we have of walking this in tomorrow. 6 under par. That was my number for the day. It was a little better than our first day, but not as like electric as our last day. I knew if we could get to 6 under par, then we were feeling good. What we weren't prepared for is that Holland, who is 6 strokes back of the lead, was about to put on a show to start things off. Once again, holes 2, 4, and 9, we knew a birdie is really not in the game plan outside of a throw-in. Crushes her drive on hole 1. For the mental checklist of keeping Fire Legend away, that's step 1. Fantastic. Execute hole 1 to perfection. She has an easy drop in. We don't lose any strokes to the field here. Hole 3, Cadence doesn't throw the forehand. She goes with the function turnover on this hole because it's a very flippy disc and just a little inside, pushes it a little too straight, and that's okay. We knew that Cadence was trying to execute one of the harder form of the shots. She was throwing it extremely well and had played that hole extremely well the entire weekend leading up to this point. So not a big deal. So Holland is 4 through 4 and we are 1 through 4. I would say mental is just fine at this point. Bummed that hole 3 didn't go the way we wanted it to, but not like, you know what? Everyone doesn't have perfect shots all the time. And I think Cadence was giving herself like some grace here. Definitely our eyes were watching Holland sort of storm during this process. Heading into hole 5, Cadence throws a great shot, ends up putting it just outside of bullseye, I'm pretty sure. Hits a great putt, keeps the putt warm. So we head into hole 6. Holland still has the box. Holland throws a booming drive. Cadence throws another booming drive, probably the most pinched off look heading into this green that she had all day. And I remember walking up to this throw, Cadence was like, I just feel like I'm going to have to throw it really high in order to get it into the green. And it's a very difficult shot to throw. And as it comes out of her hand, I can't remember if she said she put too much zip on it, but she ends up pushing it long and it goes OB. We end up having like a very obstructed putt. There's a lane, but it's tough, and she's putting from a knee to try to get through this lane. Just very, very difficult. Fortunately, it doesn't go in, and you can tell that fire legend is starting to show up. And on hole 7, throws her drive out wide over the OB and drops it in. And this is why I'm asking questions in the rounds prior, because I knew this is what she wants to execute. So the whole way up the fairway, I am just trying to lay praise on Cadence of, we did it. We executed the shot. So we head into hole 10 with a 1-stroke lead. This is where the boxing match truly begins. And on hole 10, Cadence ends up pulling her drive a little right. And I think that this is like subtly where that fire legend starts to sort of like start chirping in her ear. And then on the next shot, she wants to cross over to the left side of the fairway because really liked the approach into the green from the left side of the fairway. And I thought that she had like really masterfully played it low because I didn't want to throw it too high. She could have the chance of bringing a tree into play even if it's too high, has a chance to carry OB. Goes over the hill, drops in. I truly thought it was like a perfect shot. And then talking to her after, she's like, you threw it, you yanked it right, and then you threw it low. So once again, this fire legend is welling up inside of her, trying to sort of talk her out of confidence. I'll be the first to admit, I do not have this fire legend inside of me. I think that it pushes you to excellence, but it also leaves you on a knife's edge at all times, which can be a good thing or a tough thing. Hole 11, Cadence had thrown 2 phenomenal drives on this hole the 2 rounds prior, and both of them had gotten terrible results. So she decides to shift to a new disc for this, and she's going mid-range. Ends up throwing the mid-range, and it goes a little high. She's worried that she's going to be on the left like tree line because it was short. And then when we get down there, it actually isn't. It's right where we need to be. This is where I fail her as a caddy, and she had this new rangefinder in her bag that's just like was super touchy. And thankfully we had watched and listened. I'd been listening to other people throw from a similar spot, so I knew about what distance it was going to be. And so I'm trying to use her rangefinder. It's just not working. So I give her a guesstimate, and I don't love in this moment that I'm like giving her this guesstimate because I'm not speaking in confidence, which isn't adding to her confidence. And I'm looking Fire Legend in the eyes. My soul is looking Fire Legend soul in the eyes. And I'm like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. Stop chirping at my player, bro. And so I feel like Cadence is fighting this war with the course right now and this war against Holland. And the greatest war that I feel like I'm responsible for fighting is Fire Legend inside of her, trying to push it away so that we can keep it from breaking her confidence. Sure enough, she throws a great upshot just past the basket, has the closest approach out of anyone else on the card. Fantastic shot. And that's where we get to hole 12, where Holland makes her first major mistake. She misses the Mando. Now, this is where we're embracing the gas pedal phrase, and I'm like, oh, awesome. Let's go. Cadence has been crushing this hole. This is her time. She throws a fantastic drive that skips up over the rocks, and we have our best look at the hole that we've had the entire tournament. Holland chips it up. We know that she's taking a bogey, and this is an opportunity to get a 2-stroke swing and go from a 1-stroke lead to a 3-stroke lead, which would be just such relief, such breath of fresh air. And I'm trying to get Cadence to breathe through this whole thing, and you can feel the importance of this putt as she walks up to it.
For a 2-stroke swing here.
That's the first we've seen here.
And when her hands go to her head after that putt, I see Fire Legend inside of her take over. I'm terrified for her. I want to speak confidence to her as best I can. Douse Fire Legend. I want Fire Legend to be passion for her. She ends up with a very, very difficult second putt that also goes wide. And I think that in the moment, it's very difficult to look at difficult situation you're in and give yourself grace, because you're probably looking at the first one and blaming it and end up, we don't lose any strokes on this hole. We just take a bogey. 13 is a super tricky hole because it is really difficult to get the turnover angle just right, because there's like a ditch right of the basket, so you can't let the disc turn over too much. There's big trees in the way, so you have to swing out wide, so it has to be a pretty flippy disc on turnover, and Cadence hadn't birdied it any of the 2 rounds prior, and so I know that we're walking into this not feeling like it's the most confident hole. She throws this turnover, and unfortunately, it's just a little inside, hits the tree, and you can see the spin here. You can see the disappointment. I feel the more and more that this keeps happening, the less I'm seeing of Cadence, especially the Cadence that we've seen up to this point. And Fire Legend is just yelling at us right now. What I think Cadence is doing really well in this moment is that she's not softing any of these shots. She is still ripping these shots. She's throwing confident, like powerful shots, so they're not coming out weak. They're just not coming out where we're trying to aim them. How are you supposed to know where it's going? Which is the conversation that we end up having as she comes back the tee of hole 14. And at this point, I'm trying to tell Cadence, we haven't lost this tournament yet. We're actually still in the lead. Like, we're tied for the lead, but we are still in the lead in this moment. We've got some tough holes coming up. We're not out of it. And I'm just trying to, I mentioned earlier in the video, trying to throw lifelines to your player. You have options. Try to speak positive, which for lots of players, your highly competitive players, pretty much is never the route. That Fire Legend inside of them Positivity is like gasoline to the fire. We get to hole 14, Holland also doesn't throw a phenomenal drive, ends up hitting a tree. Cadence has the opportunity, green light, our opportunity to sort of advance here, and just a little, I think this one goes like right and a little low, so we're out of position. So Holland ends up laying up here for the easy chip up, and Cadence has a choice. I have the rangefinder, and this is exactly how the conversation goes. She asked me to gun the basket, and I said it's 380 to the basket, but it's 290 to the hill. I believe that in round 1, we had landed on the hill and had a chance for a jump putt to hit the birdie. The hill was perfectly in play, and the left side wasn't OB on the hill. There was OB on the right side, but you just had to clear the ravine and then get left, and most of the time you were going to be fine. Coming back to the reality of the conversation, 380, that's farther than I thought, but it's only 290 to the hill. And she says, all right, I'm going for the hill. I said, awesome. Showtime. And I step back. Cadence throws the shot, and unfortunately, it slips out. Doesn't hit the release point the way that she wanted. Now, where are you supposed to trust the shot? So she commits, and she tries to make an adjustment, and she ends up slowing down her form, which is very, very cool because it just shows you how like in tune she is as a player. Slows down her form, and that ends up having her pull it a little right, and we get blessed and highly favored, and we sneak through the trees on the right side, have a putt. End up taking a double bogey and losing 2 strokes to Holland on this hole. My heart is breaking for Cadence on this stage because you watching this video have probably had bad days on the course before. Almost guaranteed you've had bad days on the course. But while you've had bad days on the course, have you had people actually just putting cameras in your face to watch you have this bad day? To know that thousands of people are also watching you have this bad day. I can see all of this happening to Cadence. Her dad has driven up here for this event. She had a 4-stroke lead and a 6-stroke lead, and it's just now all crumbled right in front of her. And the question I'm asking myself as her caddy is, how hard do I dig my heels in while holding on to these lifelines to try to pull her out? Or is that going to cause her to run away from me? And if she runs away, that's even worse because now with cameras on her, she probably feels more alone than ever before in front of an entire crowd. She has played so good. She's worked so hard up to this moment, and I just want to see her succeed. I want to see her succeed and crush it. And so I embrace Youth Pastor Days Robbie, and on hole 15, throw a Hail Mary, and I pull her aside. And it's crazy because Ty Tennant, one of the TDs, actually caught a picture of it happening. And I say, Cadence, you've got this. You can win this tournament, and the only person that can decide that you can win this tournament is you. You have played 17 and 18 better than anyone else combined all weekend. You have got these shots. They are hard holes, and you know you can do this. You just have to believe. And I'm pretty confident that like that's the tone that we take with it in the approach. I can't pull her out of the hole as much as I wish I could. She has to have the mental resolve to say, I'm a boss. Let's be a boss. And ladies and gentlemen, what happens? She throws a great drive on hole 15. Right in the middle of the fairway, we have nice, somewhat comfortable footing, which is something we didn't have on this throw the entire weekend. She goes to throw her next shot, and it holds super straight for a great amount of time. It ends up fading at the very end. And I ask her, did it go straight? How did it feel? I'm looking at the release point because I know that we have 3 tunnel shots in a row coming up, and I am trying to add so much positivity and encouragement and confidence into you threw a straight shot. It went straight. That's awesome. You can throw straight shots, Cadence. You can throw straight shots. That's the only message that I'm trying to preach to her. And when we walk up, where is she at? None other for her approach than the place that she got to throw 2 practice putts from essentially in round 2. She bangs the putt. Fantastic opportunity. Ends up getting a stroke on Holland, and we have the box. She grabs her essence, rips it down the fairway, and catches the last tree protecting the green. She just has a nice long look from circle 2. Tough. Oh man, I think if she bangs that putt, we know it's over walking into 17. But thankfully, she cares about the people. She wants the drama. So we head into 17. She throws a phenomenal drive on 17. Furthest drive on 17 she'd had all week. Day 1, her approach on 17, she threw a distance driver. Day 2, she threw a fairway driver. And on day 3, she is so close, she grabs an origin, puts it under the bucket, answering Holland's bullseye approach from before. We didn't realize Holland was under the bullseye, but doesn't matter. Cadence is the boss. We are talking about the wind on hole 18 as we're walking, because you kind of walk into the woods for the tee shot on 18. So we're talking about, hey, the wind is pushing left to right. It's pushing left to right. So stuff's not going to get left. She's like, do I need to throw more stable? What are we thinking? And I was like, I just think you should throw like same thing. Why change it? You've been crushing this. Let's go. Because she just wants the turnover. So as long as she doesn't get like turned over and be pinched off on the right, she's going to have a great look. And sure enough, I don't know if it's the nerves. I don't know what it is, but she obliterates this drive, y'all. Crushes this drive. She throws such an awesome shot. She gets all the way up. Like, I think if we could put like a picture perfect place to drop her drive, she's on flat footing. She's looking at the basket. Day 2, she threw a function and ended up going long. Fairway driver long. So what do we make the adjustment for? She grabs an origin. I gun the basket. It's 256 into the green. It's 256. Never forget the number. And ladies and gentlemen, you've seen this shot. FPO shot of the year. What a boss. She throws an amazing upshot, puts all the pressure on Holland. Holland has the opportunity to lay up for par here, and we go to a playoff. But I respect Holland as the competitor. She felt like it was a very executable shot to get up and down for birdie. So she throws, fairway driver, hangs it, pushes it a little too wide. The wind gets a hold of it, carries it. She ends up OB. She has to throw in to save the par now. She doesn't throw in, ends up throwing OB again. So the score doesn't look anywhere as close as it actually was. And I remember walking up and Cadence is like, do I have to make this putt? Do I have to make this putt? Can I like lay it up? And I'm checking the scores. And I said, I mean, you can if you want to. And Avery Jenkins, who's standing with us, says, no, do not lay it up. Bang that putt like a champion. Fireworks going off in our heads. I mean, there may have been fireworks there. I don't know. It's kind of like euphoric thinking about it. And I'm just so proud of Cadence for pushing through and coming out of the other side. Your one-time, first of many, DGPT champion. Cadence made the choice in the round that she was the boss that she is to come back and win. She knew she had the shots. Maybe she needed someone to remind her. I don't know. But it was a joy and an honor to be there, to be able to offer a lifeline, watching her go to a low and climb out the other side like a boss. It was epic, y'all. It is easily up there in my top disc golf memories, and it's something I'll never forget. So proud of Cadence in this, and I'm looking forward to the next time we get to run it back to grab another win. That's my perspective of the 2025 Discmania Challenge, getting to be on the bag for your DGPT Elite Series champion, Cadence Burge. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, enjoyed this experience, and if this was something that you kind of like this perspective, let me know in future caddy experiences we can sort of tell. Now, for my shortcomings, we'll talk about it on Tuesday. It'll be a little different, but looking forward to talking about the Creator Challenge as well. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. Go buy some Cadence Burge merch. Go buy some Origins, because you too could put Origins to Bullseye. It's just a phenomenal disc. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.